He just said it, but he continues. It doesn't stop him. It's a complicated case. The lawyers are vultures, but I'm going to use this example anyway.
But somewhere along the line, someone peddled these opiates to people knowing that they were addictive. This did happen at some point. Now, maybe it's the government's fault. I don't know why the government passed on these things, and then Johnson & Johnson gets blamed. But
yeah, so the government should have regulated this more. These are the defenses of capitalism. The problem is the government didn't regulate it enough. That's the real problem in the opioid crisis. What's the difference between these guys on the left exactly? Again?
Somewhere along the line, there was a conversation where they said, well, tough. We got to sell these things to make our money back, so let's do it, and let's never mind the addiction and the trouble it's going to cause. That's good objectivism.
Is that good objectivism? Is that profit above everything? Is that what Howard Rourke would do? Is that what Reardon would do? Is that what Dagny would do? To hell with the long term. To hell with the long-term consequences. To hell with long-term profitability. To hell with my integrity. To hell with honesty. I'm just going to peddle stuff for profit. That's objectivism? This is a guy who claimed earlier that it's easy to understand a philosophy, and once you understand a philosophy, everything else is boring. Boring. Well, Andrew, go read. Read. Reading, you're supposed to be a writer. Reading is not that hard. Read an essay by Ayn Rand, a whole essay. And you find me a place where she would say, profit above integrity, profit above virtue, short-term profit above long-term profit. It's just a caricature. And he truly is, this is why I was wondering whether I should even do this video, because he's so pathetic. But I figure, enough. These people, they go out there, they attack Ayn Rand, they attack her ideas without even knowing the ideas. They skim books and they criticize them, and nobody stands up to them. So I'm standing up to you, Andrew, and I'm sorry to be advertising you, but I think given that I'm criticizing this, people will get how despicable what you are doing is. I mean, you could have just said, I fundamentally disagree with Ayn Rand. She's an atheist. She stands for self-interest. She's an advocate for reason. I am a Christian. I'm a conservative. I stand for faith. I stand for altruism. I stand with Jesus. We disagree fundamentally. Fine. That would be honest. But this is being a, so far, 4 minutes and 30 second dishonest, and I use this for a moral, I'm condemning him morally here, a dishonest diatribe, just pathetic. Anyway, all right.
That's making yourself happy. So what? So our cars explode?
Is that what happiness means, Ayn Rand? Producing stuff that explodes? Producing stuff that is crap? Is that really what makes somebody happy according to Ayn Rand? No. Again, Ayn Rand has a philosophy, a whole system to understand the world and to understand us as human beings. And a view of happiness is far deeper, far more substantive than his caricature. It's about pursuing rational values that enhance your life as a human being. And our understanding as a human being is a deep understanding of what it means to have a conceptual consciousness, what it means to be the rational animal in Aristotle's terms, what it means to be guided by reason, what values a man of reason would seek, and therefore, and would be happy by attaining those values. But the idea that Ayn Rand, if you read Atlas Shrugged, or if you read The Fountainhead, think of the pride Howard Rourke has in his buildings. Think of what Howard Rourke would do if he discovered that he had a flaw in the design and that the building was going to collapse. Now, Andrew Klavan's attitude is, he's made a lot of money. They can't come after him. I don't know, they signed some indemnification. So he doesn't care. So the building falls down. It's a big deal. Can you imagine how tortured Rourke would be if he found such a design flaw? The lengths he would go to fix it? He wouldn't take the money. This caricature of materialism. It's the only way, of course, conservatives can think of the world, because to them the material is unimportant, so they trivialize anything material. But this idea that this is, or think of Reardon, think of the effort, the mental effort, the physical effort that he goes through in order to design his metal. And not just any metal. Not some metal he can make a quick profit off of, but the best metal. And the confidence he has that the metal won't fail, that the bridge won't fall down. But Klavan is a typical Christian. Man is fundamentally evil. Man is fundamentally corrupt. Self-interest is nothing but the pursuit of lying, stealing, cheating, and exploiting. That's the essence of self-interest, because that's the essence of man for Christians. So you need controls. You need regulators. You need an oppressive moral code that tells people they can't be happy, they shouldn't be happy, they shouldn't pursue their happiness, to control all that evil that is inherent within human beings. I mean, there's such a dark, depressing, horrific view of mankind. And as a consequence, they can't contemplate, they can't imagine a Howard Rourke or Reardon or a Dagny. To them, yeah, these are cardboard figures because they're outside of their ability to imagine what a human being could be. It goes against everything. It goes against everything that they believe about humanity. So yes, for them they are cardboard. Yes, for them the books are boring. Because what's presented in the books is man as he could or should be, but not according to Christian morality. What's presented in the books according to Christian morality is impossible. It's anti-human nature. It's the opposite of what can and should be. They want meekness. They want Jesus on a cross. That's the standard. That's realistic. That's, motivating. That's inspiring. All right.
It'll cost us less to get sued by the people whose parents have died than it will to recall the cars, so we won't recall the cars. I mean, that's the kind of thing that would happen in an Ayn Rand world. Her artistic judgments, like against Shakespeare, make...
Again, Ayn Rand didn't have artistic judgments against Shakespeare. Where does he get that from? I mean, Leonard Peikoff, Ayn Rand's student, declared Othello the greatest play ever written. So, aesthetic judgments against Shakespeare? She had none. She had philosophical judgments against Shakespeare. Read Othello, and you'll see the evil philosophy represented in almost all of Shakespeare's plays. But that is not an aesthetic condemnation. But again, he just makes assertions. He just declares stuff. And I want to make it clear that what he says about Ayn Rand is just untrue. He's making it up. Stop being so dishonest, Andrew.
Sense, because her view of humanity is stilted and wrong.
That's the key. Her view of humanity as heroic, her view of man as heroic, her view of man as rational, her view of man as, this magnificent creature that can create, build, make, and that can achieve his own happiness. That is what is wrong. That is what he can't stand. That is what pisses off conservatives. That is what freaks them out and why they have to attack Ayn Rand. But that's her view. Her stilted view of man is heroic. Man is capable of incredible feats of heroism and integrity and honesty and pride and rationality. And the fact that this is how they critique her, what a pathetic world we live in.
Her idea of morality is stilted and wrong. Now, if Yaron Brook said that that Judeo-Christian values are not Western values, that's just historically ridiculous. That is historically ridiculous.
I'll take him on that issue anytime.
Values, even classical values that predate Judeo-Christian values come to us through the filter of Judeo-Christian values. And you cannot think...
So classical values, Greek values, come to us through the filter of Judeo-Christian values. So we couldn't understand Aristotle without Judeo-Christian values. We couldn't understand Plato. We couldn't understand Greek sculpture. We couldn't understand Greek plays. We can't understand Greece. We can't understand the great writers of Rome without the Judeo-Christian filter. Now let me say this. It is true that there is a filter, and there has been a filter. And to the extent that that filter is there, to that extent, people have misunderstood the great values that came to us from classical civilization. You know, the scholastics, to a large extent, distorted Aristotle, distorted his method, and distorted what he had to say, to the point where many people in the Enlightenment considered themselves rebelling against Aristotle, because what they were rebelling against was Catholic scholasticism, but they associated with that with Aristotle. But the idea that nobody can read the classics without a filter of a Judeo-Christian tradition is bizarre. It's wrong. It's untrue. And let me be very clear. Fundamentally, Western civilization is two ideas. I mean, it's all the product. It's all the manifestation of these two ideas. The manifestation of these two ideas in art, the manifestation in these two ideas in our culture, in our attitudes towards one another, and ultimately in politics, in the way we have constructed our societies. And the two ideas implicit in Western civilization from the Renaissance on, and explicit in Western civilization starting in the Enlightenment. The two ideas are the efficacy of reason, the efficacy of the human mind and our senses to know reality, to understand reality. And the fact that the individual is an end in himself, and his happiness is the purpose of his life. In the Declaration of Independence, ultimately, it says we have an inalienable right to our own life as individuals, as individual human beings, and to our own happiness. To our own happiness. So, those are the ideas that constitute Western civilization. The scientific revolution, the artistic revolution, the revolutions that, and ultimately a philosophical revolution that led to the idea of the efficacy of the human mind, of reason, and of individualism, of man and his happiness as both a political end and a moral end. And that's not Christianity. Now, Christianity has an element of individualism. Ayn Rand attributes this to Christianity. The idea that the individual has a relationship with God. It's not the tribe, it's not the group, it's the individual. But even that little element is destroyed within Christianity with the whole Neoplatonism, because we create a pope who then has the relationship with God for us. The pope who is a philosopher king, who can commune with the world of the gods and relay to us the truth that we must accept. That we must accept. So, no, Klavan doesn't understand Western civilization. He doesn't know what Western civilization is fundamentally about. Even if you look at the art of the Renaissance. The art of the Renaissance, A, is guided by reason, perspective, the way to use colors, the kind of colors you can, the kind of paints you can use. I mean, there's so much science in the name of what? In the name of projecting reality. Reality as it is, or as it could be. It's a complete break from the Middle Ages, where they're purposefully not presenting reality as it is, but reality as distorted. Reality as you would see it in a Platonic cave. The Renaissance is implicitly about using our senses to discover the world as it is. It's the beginning, therefore, of also the scientific revolution. I mean, I recommended the book by the book on Leonardo da Vinci. Read the book on Leonardo da Vinci. It is a magnificent book, and it's just what a man Leonardo da Vinci was. And you can see the beginnings of scientific revolution. You can see the integration of science and art. You can see the use of reason in art. There is no Renaissance without individuals using their own mind in pursuit of their own values, in pursuit of their understanding of the truth, their discovery of the truth. And of course, it's an era of individualism. It's an era of artists who, this is the Renaissance, who are painting differently, with a different style, with a different orientation, with a different message. Painters and sculptors and architects who are doing amazing things and are being, for the most part, to some extent at least, left alone to do it. It's why it's such an era of creativity. So implicit in the Renaissance is the idea of reason and individualism. By the Enlightenment, they are now explicit. And by the Declaration of Independence, they've now turned into a political ideal. Again, not fully understood until Ayn Rand. This is her genius. This is why this is such an injustice. This is why this is so horrific, is that Ayn Rand is the most important modern figure in Western civilization. And these creeps who claim to be defending Western civilization, this is what they have to say about her. The woman who can save the West, the woman who can save the Enlightenment, the only set of ideas, I believe, that can save the Enlightenment, that can save these ideas of reason and individualism. These people are just trivially, casually, by skimming the book. This is what they have to say.
That a civilization that was called Christendom when it started is not a Christian civilization. It is.
It wasn't a civilization when it was called Christendom.
All the philosophers from Kant to Nietzsche who rejected it were dealing with the Christian inheritance.
From Kant to Nietzsche. He's named two really, really bad philosophers, and he skipped over the Enlightenment. He skipped over the Enlightenment that is struggling to put Christianity in its place. In a sense, it's struggling to get Christianity out of Western civilization. Struggling to get beyond Christianity, to leave Christianity in the dust. And yes, it's true, Kant brings it right back. Kant brings Christianity right back into the center of the discussion. And by doing that, sets the stage for all the anti-Enlightenment movements to follow. From Marxism to fascism to all the anti-Western ideologies, to nihilism, all the anti-Western ideologies that attempt constantly from within the West to destroy the West. Communism is an anti-Western ideology, Western civilization ideology. Fascism is an anti-Western ideology. And I would argue Christianity is an anti-Western ideology. All, in their own way, trying to destroy the West from within. And I've always said, I fear those ideologies. I fear the danger from within far more than I fear dangers from without. This is why, to me, Islam is not a threat. These guys are a threat. The communists are a threat. The fascists are a threat. The conservatives are a threat. The left is a threat. Muslims can't take them seriously enough.
So it's ridiculous to say that those are not our values and that objectivism somehow are. You know, capitalism.
Objectivism is not your value. It's not. It should be. It's the only set of values that'll save this civilization.
System, it's a great system, it's the best economic system, but it needs to be hemmed in by morals. It
needs to be hemmed in by morals. What morals are those? Sacrifice.
To be hemmed in by altruism and by...
He said it. They need to be hemmed in by altruism. And once you hem them in by altruism, there's no more capitalism. There's no more freedom. There's no more Western civilization. Altruism, as a moral ideal, is enemy number one. It is what is destroying our world. Ayn Rand says something about we're dying from an orgy of altruism.
And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize, I know this is difficult, can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it Objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute, that man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it, and that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith?
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason. A morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
How does objectivism differ from the philosophies that many of us have been exposed to in our youths? Philosophies based upon religions, theologians, dogmatists.
The very first difference, objectivism tells you that it is not right, it is not proper to man to take anything on faith. Religion is a matter of faith. You accept a religion emotionally or because you were born to it. You have not chosen it rationally. What objectivism will tell you is that reason, man's reason is his basic means of survival. That is the most important faculty which he has, and he has to guide his life and make his choices by means of his rational faculty. He has to make his own choices, but he has to know how to make them. It is immoral for him to act on his emotions, to be guided by the whim of the moment. That objectivism holds as very wrong, very immoral. And morality, in fact, consists of following your reason to the best of your ability. So that rationality is the basic virtue from which all the others proceed.
My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people, nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
Tell me the value of selfishness.
Use another word, self-esteem. The value of selfishness is that you esteem yourself as a value, that you live according to your nature, which means by the judgment of your own mind, and you respect your own mind, you respect your own ability to do the right thing, therefore you respect the possibility of being a morally virtuous person, and you regard yourself as a value worth preserving. To make a success of yourself in any line of rational activity is a great virtue. And people will attack you for exercising your ability, for hard work, for consistency, for ambition. And they will want to make you feel guilty of it. Mm-hmm. That is the greatest evil, according to my philosophy.
And wait, say that again. The greatest evil, according to your philosophy, is to attack an individual because of virtue.
What I call it is to experience or act on hatred of the good for being the good. That is attacking people for their virtues, for their achievements, for anything they have which is a value, actually, not for their flaws and not for their evil. In fact, people who preach that are the ones who are mawkish about the evil people, the failures, the liars, the cheats, everybody who is weak suddenly acquires some kind of value. But anyone who is a success has to be attacked for his success.
And look at how you have been attacked.
Oh, I know.
How you have been criticized. There are
You know that?
There are many people in this country, forgive me, in this world who think you're daft.
They don't. They want you to think that.
Using the super chat, and I noticed yesterday when I appealed for support for the show, many of you stepped forward and actually supported the show for the first time. So I'll do it again. Maybe we'll get some more today. If you like what you're hearing, if you appreciate what I'm doing, then I appreciate your support. Those of you who don't yet support the show, please take this opportunity. Go to yaronbrookshow.com/support or go to subscribestar.com, Yaron Brook Show, and make a kind of a monthly contribution to keep this going. I'm not sure when the next